The Jack Straw Cultural Center presents the official release show to celebrate the new poetry chapbook Rookland by Jesse Minkert, published by Finishing Line Press. The event took place on December 2, 2017 at the Jack Straw Cultural Center in Seattle, Washington. Readers were L. Swartz, Robert P. Kaye, and Jesse Minkert. Each of the readers appears on a separate video.
Thank you, Robert, for giving me the wonderful opportunity of trying to follow that. I have a set of poems here. Some of them are from Rookland, and I will try to identify them as they go by. Some of them are not. Some of them are just things I wrote. Member Plan 3. If you wish to receive supplemental pharmacy and/or outpatient surgical compensation, please click here. If you wish to apply for compensation due to a non-work-related loss of a digit, please click here for left hand, or here for right hand, or here for multiple-digit loss regardless of hand. If the non-work-related event resulted in the loss of all digits, please click here. If your catastrophic event can be considered connected to conditions of stress, personal emotional trauma, dissolution of marital status, loss of custody of one or more children, identity theft, news programming, cyberbullying, sexual harassment, insensitive remarks and/or jokes by coworkers regarding your physical condition, genetic anomalies, or fashion sense, please click here. If the damaging event or events originate from combinations of two or more of the situations listed above, please click here. For a referral to a counselor for an emotional evaluation, please click here. For a referral to an attorney for potential litigation, please click here. Click here to save your responses. Click here to continue to the next screen. From Rookland, her own concoction. Melanie weaves a few blades of grass into 3-winged spinners and ties them onto dandelion stalks with fern leaf spiders' webs. They drift on the breeze above the grassy park until these murderous gossamer lures tangle on the wings of zebra moths who writhe their last gasps on seats of swings. She gathers them, mashes them to a paste in her pestle, stirs them into her hot chocolate milk, and sips until she feels that flutter in her throat. Also from Rookland, album. On this page, Belinda is laughing with friends, arms around her waist, every pair of lips open, teeth blazing in the light of the flash. She leans too far to keep upright on her own. Colin is in back, face as flat as the day he dug a grave for his dog. But here they stand beside each other on the street. The city's dressed in a pelt of ice. Tire tracks calligraph the road. Belinda huddles in her hood, squinting from her capsule. Colin, hands in pockets, bends his head, face lost in the shadow of his parka. Look at our Belinda solo now, sitting at a table dented by 1,000 pictures. Her plaid scarf on her neck, her white sweater, the ragged hole at the elbow, beer foam in her glass, mouth parted, hair pulled back but for a single strand dangling in front of a half-closed eye. Who's this figure in the foreground? The balding, uncombed head, rounded shoulders, a hand in a dark sleeve, fingers clutching another tumbler of beer. Navigation. Scrawl thy screen, time not quick painting, focus on the text. Question, answer correctly. The screen, stare at the screen. The screen is boring. Change the screen. Close eyes, sing to sleep. The screen awakens. The screen makes breakfast. Kiss the screen. Caress the screen. Get the screen with child. From Rookland. Colin washes his hands. Trenches of soot and grease in the maps of his palms. Intractable life nestles in his pores, eager to sink its tiny jaws into his meat. Spiders' carcasses, broken roaches' legs, smears of mucus accreted under his fingernails. He scours his cuticles, knuckles, wrinkles, flushes the bacterial mobs, foams away the grainy ash of meteorites and volcanoes, scrubs off the scampering itches who seek new crevices, new shelter from the brush's bristles' onslaught. But what he labors to cleanse is not his hide. More the dread that he might awaken from his relentless conjectures of whom he can assume will conquer him, and when. From Rookland, Harvest of Marrow. The old man, feet among the roots, should have learnt by now to carry his bones one atop the other. These knots, he says, that harden on my bones don't help me listen to the saxophones. This ravaged hand stings from the salt. Blood on the strand purples the asphalt. My mouth fills now with rain, and now with wind, with soil and coins, wasps' wings, shouts, splinters, threads of socks, scraps of skin. Bones sound when they shatter, like celery sticks between the fingers of his daughter, who's prepared the tray of ranch, blue cheese, or hummus dips. But his crushing teeth can smell his skeleton moving between the millstones of the world's mastication. From Rookland, Rainbow Face. Belinda won't think about the bruise around her eye. Not so eggplant-colored now, fading to yellow and magenta tints. Her friends' asking eyes and the lies she offers them for answers hurt as much as the hairline fracture on her zygomatic arch. In venues where she's not well known, the patrons snatch a glimpse of a collision drifting through the curtain. They don't know what breaks or blunt disruptions have colored her demeanor, nor do they wish to learn. They fold their pain inside their garments, so those with mutilations of their own won't have to step in front of everyone and perform a feeling. Leather seat cushion from Rookland. He will try to not spill his drink on the furniture, but he will have had too many, and the stain... Oh, the stain will draw his mate's attention. She will scold him from beyond the gaze of casual acquaintances. They will form the notion that he has often failed. His lapses of judgment, of focus, balance, grace will incur for the hostess a substantial cleaning bill. He will offer to pay. The hostess will say, "Accidents are normal. They happen to us all." For these words, he will fall in love with her. But the mate will say, "Try not to mortify me before strangers who mean more to me than you." Now the room will know that he will be inches from sleeping in a bug-infested bed in a motor court, from briefcases full of briefs, from asset distributions. Failure. Failure. Deeper failure than the circle expanding on the seat of the cowskin armchair in ecru on which the purple stands out like a bruise. He will cry inside for that lost liquid mouthful, discoloring the tightly stitched hide. He will yell, "Why display our torment to these casual acquaintances? Should they care? Shouldn't they prefer not to see, to hear how much you detest me? How much do you think I have left to feel about you?" But even as he bellows, he will know he is lost. He will wear the blame to bed that night. "Let me die," he will beg to the empty ether. "Let me die right now on this carpeted floor," as these words stutter from between my lips. Split Apple, American Lament. The cleaving season has begun, the severing season when all completions rupture, popular for divorces, shifting lines of property, but the knife slices down on us all, cuts off our escape from the wider half, the nobler half, the last remaining half. The rope snaps, the cables whine loose from their rings, lines of power explode, set the thirsty grass afire, houses fade in the smoke, sunsets blaze above the edge of the world, beaches mark the tide with corpses from the boiling deep. We, the lost, wander along the fault line where the west moves west, and the rest recedes like cracking skin. Mate floats away, spouse calls out in the trauma of disillusion, mother or child, lover or loved, as matter expands, as distances widen, as time fails to close wounds, reaching down to the magma, down to the mantle, to the worm-infected core. Even the darkness tears. The layers disrupt, pieces scatter on the highways, beg to reunite, pray to grasp the other, the lost, ejected other, adrift in dissipating nebulae in shadows of vanishing suns. Our distress, our solitude, our voices, our hope, our hunger, our fear fling into the chasm, but our cousins can't reply. Our disintegrated pieces drift out into vacuum, out into silence, out of reach. From Rookland, mouth of the sea. Sharks absent, swimmer 64, strokes from Cuba to Florida. New York Times, September 2nd, 2013. The somnolescent giantess won't release her grasp on the breathing membrane separating air from sea. Pulses depart to every point and speak in shimmers to sheared-off dreadnoughts of ice. One may never know her caress, but imagine instead the millennia of sediment spilling from her hair. Reflections of clouds, accretions by rain and rivers join the shifting surface, their songs broadcast on the ocean's radio. She swims to Latin rhythms farther than the measure of terrors in her wake. Her fingers inject and stir, her breath spills out. The surface welcomes what the deep would devour. One may slap stomachs, play reeds of cellophane inserted in a crease or fold or elbow to welcome her ashore, to call her water nymph, reborn within the tide. From Rookland, certain future. In her tissues, Jason's mother reenacts the deaths of her ancestors, a rehearsal for his inheritance. He studies what wakes each day in his sons and reads in them that same destiny. He wants to hold them close. Every order, he wants to say, is perfect order. A placement acts to expedite a replacement, but replacements suggest displacements, imply the sweating seams, the pressures in the atmosphere, in the bucket, sand and pretty stones, shells broken in the surf, scraps of salty wood. In sleep, he saw the Percheron mare. Light shimmered in her mane. More fever than dream, he told himself. False patterns clinging to his retinas. Reassemble me. Margaret's brakes shuddered at an orange barricade. Her wheel turned east toward clear-cut slopes. Fragments of a forest covered a checkerboard of needles and dust. Through the overcast, sunset colored the hills. The road whistled below her shoes. A cochina in a mini-mall. Margaret picked from the bowl of chips, a plate of enchiladas, sauce squeezed from a plastic bottle. She sipped sangria. A coiling partition slid behind a concrete pillar. The rattle startled her, a rasp on another harsh surface where fragments of her once lay cut sharp among the ruins. Her stomach shuddered, its contents climbed her throat. She hurried toward the stalls. I wish, she told the sink, my rescuers could find me here. Behind her eyes, the cold, black tube through which she saw her memory struggled to dissolve, to squeeze out erosions, incursions of mud, heaps of salvage, little shattered plastic figures sticking out from under a mass of broken cinder blocks. Blurred figures climbed tilted slabs, brushed a path through the clutter. They dug with bloody fingernails, the soles of their feet sliced open. Blood dried on the ground. Clouds of ash hung like a drape between their eyes and the broken landscape. From under the trunks of trees, the jagged slabs where the tower's foundation once stood smooth and whole. Her voice rose. Seek me where the rubble shifts. Find me in a cavity in the mud. Extract me from this destiny below the crushing ground. High-capacity clip. We will dress our murdered children for their commencement ceremonies, read a brief summation of their accomplishments, recall their pulsing vessels, remember what shambles their stuttering recitals made of the lesson plan. The graduating seniors' cries sent us sprinting for shelter. Intimates torn from their embraces marched on swollen feet to search for sounds of breathing under perforated torsos. We will attend their corpses. A shampoo and rinse, lotions to lubricate rigid skin. We'll face them toward the lectern in this half-empty hall, in cozy seats, upright, still as stalks of dry reed. From Rookland, soup. By this time, they could only text each other. Nights were long and empty. Wind bashed trees against the windows. The hands on the kitchen clock moved stubbornly through their job. She wrote that she had met some very kind people. She hadn't told them everything. He lied to her. He said he got a haircut, was working, eating healthy food, cutting back on beer and cigarettes. He wouldn't have been surprised if the very kind people were inventions. He kept his phone in his overcoat, took it out to read her messages as he sipped his cup of salty soup. Hello, sister. My tissue's demands spatter on the surface, scatter over the hardwood, and if I'm sure I'm still alive, I'll pay a $5 for a glimpse through a hole in the abdomen, there to watch the water slide. A measured potion passing through the membrane, her sacrifice on my behalf of which we do not speak. Someone fronts the money, rescue, scrap, or mint, return on investment, revenue to cost. She knew who she was entering. Wager on an also ran, odds too long to calculate. Too late to change her mind, too slow to kill the calf, too much time running down the lining of the bottle. What passes through this filter, out from that regret, the organ and its origin burn like suns inside me. From Rookland, Sylvia's hair is all that remains of a lost empire of sun worshippers, a mountain of shards, the image of the goddess engraved on every piece. Is a gold leaf crossword puzzle in Arabic, is 52,715 palominos on loco weed, a storm of grasshoppers choreographed by Twyla Tharp, is the Mandelbrot set soaked in brandy and set afire with a drop of rainwater in a loop of summer grass. In a blur of haste, Monet's brush flickers through brilliant air from palette to canvas and back. The sun repositions in the sky. Monet tosses the canvas into roadside grass, lifts a new one from a stack. Another Monet watches the first Monet's shadow lengthen, captures Monet's impression, throws the image down, and starts another. That's Sylvia's hair. Sylvia's braids are hawsers that lead into all of the other dimensions, anchored to the heads of all of the other Sylvias, keeping the knot of all worlds tight, not ravelable by any set of busy fingers. Each strand of Sylvia's hair is a twist of candle smoke. Orderly dispersal. I'm asking you now, in my calmest voice, my voice of patience and maintenance and strength, to rise slowly from your seats and turn to face the nearest aisle. The person in front of you is moving deliberately and efficiently. Put your trust in that person's control of his or her impulses to rush or push or trample the persons between him or her and the ultimate goal of the exit, just as you exercise your power over your own impulses to act in the same way. Listen to the tone of calm in my voice. Do not worry. Relax the muscles in your shoulders. Lift your feet one at a time, move each a few inches forward, and put it back down with plenty of clearance for the shoes and feet of the person in front of you who is proceeding in the same measured way out of the row of seats to the aisle and on toward the ultimate goal of the exit. Keep your attention focused on the back of the neck of the person in front of you. Do not look left. Do not look right. Do not let your attention be drawn by the flickers of light at the periphery of your vision. Ignore the smell of burning leather and fabric and hair and flesh. Do not listen to the screams. Pay no attention to the rising taste of panic in your gullet. Focus on my voice. March forward to the sound of my voice. You will be fine. You will get out. You will survive with only minor injuries. You may remember this moment later in your life. You will read about the casualties. You will listen to the reporters speak of the tragedy on the screen of your television. She will not talk about you. She will not mention you because you locked your mind onto my voice, and my voice guided you through the mayhem and the chaos and the melee to the exit. And you will soon stand on the sidewalk, safe and relaxed, because my voice brought you there. Wipe the perspiration from your brow. Do not think about those who did not listen to my voice, who did not follow my instructions. They are strangers. You do not know them. You will never know them. Think of your family. Think of how happy they will be that you listened to my voice, and my voice led you to the sidewalk with only minor injuries. You are safe now. The person in front of you is safe. The person behind you is safe. You have survived because you paid attention to my voice, and now you are alive. You may stop listening now. You may become aware of the devastation around you. You may feel happy and guilty that you escaped with only minor injuries. You may remember this day for the rest of your life. You may tell this story many times. Thank you.
Many thanks to the Jack Straw Cultural Center, Levi Fuller, Laurel Circum, Darwin Alonso, Bonnie Showers, Blue Sparks, and Joan Rabinowitz. Joel Maddox was the engineer and videographer. This series of videos was produced by Joel Maddox and Jesse Minkert at the Jack Straw Cultural Center. Copies of Rookland may be purchased at finishinglinepress.com or on Amazon. This has been a Jack Straw literary event. made possible by the generous support of the Seattle Office of Arts and Culture, For Culture, the Washington State Arts Commission, the National Endowment for the Arts, and KUOW-FM. I'm Alyssa Keene.